My name is Gary Wren, and I'm an alcoholic, but I'm getting ahead of myself. It took a long time for me to get to the point where I could gratefully admit to being an alcoholic, so let's start at the beginning. The first time I remember drinking was my sophomore year in high school, age 14, Jim Beam, half a bottle or so. And although I saw my friend's mom drink the first half of that same bottle and then proceed to black out holding a lit cigarette while drooling on herself, I wanted to try it. Let me tell you, that whiskey tasted awful. It burned my throat, made me puke, but also it lit up my world. My friend partook with me, and the night ended up being one of the most fun evenings of my life up to that point. I felt tremendous. Laughter was contagious, and we ran around the neighborhood being as obnoxious and loud as we wanted. There was no way I wouldn't want to do that again. The very next night, hanging out with friends from my high school marching band, I smoked weed for the first time. Here's an expository equation to sum up that experience. Munchies plus fits of laughter plus feeling good equals another memorable evening. The obsession/compulsion/infatuation had begun. I wanted to party all the time. The Wren was born, my party persona, my addiction demon. The Wren, I thought at the time, was a better version of myself. A little alcohol and he would appear like a magical genie, making Gary friendlier, more entertaining, more humorous, more hyper, even more optimistic somehow. The Wren was the life of the party. Everyone loved him. So, while Gary was the one getting straight A's and doing chores and helping his family resemble a normal North Side San Antonio, Texas household, the Wren was the one rocking party tricks, getting girls, and discovering new waves of spreading good times. When the Wren was around, Gary seemed better off, so he was the personality I wanted around all the time. The Wren was positive reinforcement. I was addicted to him. My junior year, I quit band after 5 years to give myself more time to study, which really meant more time to party. I had already started to learn dangerous social skills. For instance, I made friends who had parents that held the "if you're gonna get messed up, do it in my house, not out there" philosophy, and get messed up we did. I quickly learned how long my brief periods of intoxication could fit into my school life. I knew if I drank one 40-ounce beer, I could sober up in time to get home before curfew on a school night, for instance. Or that a shot of liquor and a hit of the pipe in the morning would make me enjoy my first period class more. Even getting my first job at the movie theater wouldn't slow me down. If I stayed after my shift drinking and smoking in the parking lot with coworkers, my parents would be asleep by the time I got home. This is also the point where I got comfortable getting nice and buzzed before getting behind the wheel. It's quite clear getting alcohol, cigarettes, and all types of drugs was extremely easy for the Wren. And while getting fucked up on a regular basis was cool and harmless, there was a lesson there I wish I learned about myself. Everyone else's party would end at night. Mine never did. Normies, what we call people who don't have the gene that makes them not able to stop consuming harmful poisons, can party and then go to bed and get on with their life. But, for me, the drinking and drugging never stopped. On weekends, I would party till I passed out and then want to wake up and keep going. This habit would eventually extend to all days for 20 years. As the Wren would often say, I keep going on adventures every day that require alcohol. Like all things in life, there were pros and cons to constantly celebrating. Pros: I had a ton of friends in numerous social circles. I could always attract girlfriends, and I was a great employee and a straight-A honor student. I actually believed getting high and drunk made me better at everything. I even knew how to study buzzed, and my graduating in the top 3% of my class, which led to receiving academic scholarships to my school of choice, proved that. Cons: I blacked out the night of prom, got sent to alternative school for 9 weeks after getting caught smoking weed while running a mile in gym, and got alcohol poisoning the night of graduation. Just a few examples. In college, I still never got the feeling I was in the wrong direction with drugs and alcohol. Reason? Because I didn't have a problem. I had a nice apartment, kept straight A's every semester, made good money working at a successful restaurant, and paid all my bills on time, therefore concluding that I could function normally during all aspects of my life. It was fine that I went to class and studied buzzed. I still believed I was getting good grades because of the pills, weed, and booze. Friends complimented my skills in writing A-graded papers in the middle of throwing a party. By the time I reached the legal drinking age of 21, I was very proud of how much I could consume. I could easily outdrink everyone I knew, every night. I graduated magna cum laude at age 22, and in my mind I was on a path to success, even as stories were piling up from my drunken adventures. I boasted how I'd woken up in just my boxers at a rest stop in the middle of nowhere after a Dave Matthews concert. Where Are My Pants and What Happened Last Night would eventually turn into a published novel. Survived several near-death experiences from alcohol poisoning or mixing too many things. Managed to legally party every day of a 3-week vacation in England and Italy. Endured 5 intense spring breaks in South Padre and the Bahamas. Spent weeks of my life hammered while tubing rivers. And gotten voted employee most likely to party the rest of their life at work. Degree in hand, I next moved to Orlando, Florida after getting accepted into the Walt Disney World College program. From day one, the Wren was in full swing as he very willingly moved into the well-known party complex with other interns. Long story short, Vista Way Apartments was a paradise, a hedonistic community of college kids working in the theme parks and partying their asses off. And while the internship program was intended to strengthen my recent bachelor's degree of marketing, what I really learned was how to throw epic parties every single night, how to avoid hangovers by sustaining non-stop benders, and how to function drunk at work, not just buzzed. Breakfast was usually a combination of 6 shots of rum and 1 hit of weed. Dinner was usually unceasing beer bongs until full. Within the first 2 weeks, I had easily found a local drug dealer so I could now get ecstasy, weed, painkillers, and cocaine delivered to me at any time of day. To afford all this, I got a second job waiting tables. My addiction was making me work overtime. After 5.5 months of debauchery and partying to heights I had never achieved even in college, I somehow graduated with rehirable status from the college program and decided to take my impossibly high alcohol tolerance to a higher altitude. I moved to Denver, Colorado. With a new life, again, I had no one in my life to worry about how hard I was going all the time, how much I was pushing my body and mind with substances. Bartending, going to film school, and functioning drunk and high took the majority of my years from 2004 to 2007. Now the Wren was continually pressing his luck, near misses with the law, getting caught drinking at work and in the parking lot at school, doing crazy stunts while drunk. I almost got hospitalized after flipping off a roof and landing on my face. And another night after setting a mousetrap off on my testicles to entertain the crowd at a party. Snorting massive amounts of cocaine with rugby teams after games, sanctioning dangerous pub crawls, drinking 24 beers in 60 minutes as a new party trick, and more. One St. Patrick's Day, I set my tolerance bar very high when I partied for 24 hours straight. I started with cocaine at 6 a.m., drank all day, best guess 30 to 40 drinks, and then ended with ecstasy pills around midnight. I now knew how much my body could manage, which was an exciting and frightening revelation. The good news was I also, for the first time ever, mentally took a note that maybe, just maybe, I was a little bit worse in my habits than everyone I had partied with in 3 states. Over the next few years, I kept moving physically and metaphorically, never unemployed, never sober. I moved to San Antonio, then back to Denver, then to Austin, then San Antonio again. Always running from drama as my personal relationships eroded from my toxic handling of them and my addictions grew and people around me showed concern. The pattern was very real. I would move to a new city, get new friends, party my ass off, and eventually tuck my tail and run in order to hit the reset button. My partying and self-harm definitely did not slow down after any reset, it simply got more intense. By age 29, I had lost personal relationships, over 30 according to my moral inventory. I drank around 12 to 20 drinks a day. I stole drinks from work, easy to do as a bartender. Drank at work more than ever, became increasingly violent and in bad moods, made promises I couldn't keep, lied as if it was a second language, and never noticed hangovers because I never stopped feeding my body the medicine, aka booze. In my 30s, I evolved again. Once an optimistic, loving, kind person, alcohol had reduced me to a bitter, ugly, mean, lying, sick shadow of my former self. The Wren rarely came out anymore. Now I had become a completely different person when I drank, and I hated that person. I didn't even name this new personality, people in my life did. Scary Gary. Cool. Sarcasm. Scary Gary wanted everything to come crashing down in life. He was destructive, mean, and loved to create drama. He was a monster, and he loved to rationalize with me. One more drink won't hurt you. You're young. Health problems are way down the line. Everyone sucks. I'm the only one you need. I must say, you drive much better drunk. At this point, I drank mostly alone because I would hate people to know how much I consumed daily. In addition, as the alcohol and other substances changed my brain chemistry, Scary Gary was always making up stories, exaggerating truths, or plain talking crazy about nonsense. Best to hang out with my new addiction demon unaccompanied. Another lie. I still wasn't an alcoholic. I reasoned that alcoholics were homeless, or they went to AA meetings. They were in mental hospitals, or rehab, or jail. I had never been unemployed. I had a college degree. I had never been in trouble with the law. I had friends and family who loved me. I was no damn drunk. On the other hand, in a typical week, I was now consuming about 4 to 5 bottles of cheap whiskey, boxes of cheap wine, cases of beer, 6 bags of cocaine. I like to limit myself to 1 a day with 1 day off to rest, and taking recreational drugs when I could find them. Once again, no one knew how much I was consuming but me, so to keep my secret from getting out, I got creative. For example, I buried bottles in the backyard, went on walks by myself with a pocket full of flasks, and drank during long showers. And although people probably couldn't see me drinking scalding hot pints of booze from my trunk, or in gas station bathrooms, or in my closet, they could see me physically becoming ill. I was turning yellow from jaundice and thus liver damage. It was the fluorescent lights at work. I had bad rosacea that made my face noticeably red from drinking. It was genetic. I was moody. I couldn't sleep. Weak. I was overworked. Smelled awful, or so I was told after I got sober. Nauseous. I haven't eaten. And downright didn't look healthy, but as stated in these examples, I always had an excuse. I did try rehab. It didn't work. All the things I learned at Laurel Ridge only worked for a little while. I still wasn't ready to admit the truth that I was powerless over alcohol. You know why? Because there are 2 things an alcoholic hates: the way things are and change. In other words, I hated myself and I hated Scary Gary, but stopping was impossible. I could never quit drinking after I started. Plus, I didn't want to change. The overall pleasure from drinking outweighed the pain it caused. The next step in my illness, I began to write down all the things my friends said to me about my actions during my blackouts, playing detective on a regular basis. Things like, "You almost got hit by a car last night walking down the street. You look like you were about to overdose. I couldn't wake you up. You almost said the wrong thing to those guys. If I hadn't been there, you might be lying in a gutter right now." I said it, finally. I need help. And I tried to quit on my own for several years. Ways I tried to quit: only drinking 20 drinks a week and keeping track. Only drinking 3 drinks a day. Only drinking on weekends. Only drinking after a hard workout. Only drinking when I reached a certain number of work hours for the week. Only spending $10 a day on drinks. Only drinking on vacations or at parties. Everything became a party. Drinking beer only. Drinking expensive wine only. Never drinking alone. Never drinking before noon. Spoiler alert, none of these rules lasted. Next, I tried to quit cold turkey. I would make it a week sometimes, then 30 days, 3 months, 7 months, but each time I relapsed, my drinking got worse. I collected rock bottoms like they were shells from a beach strip. I was indeed a very sick person, a full-blown alcoholic, and a complete manic-depressive type of alcoholic to boot. In the mornings, I shook with flu-like symptoms and shit blood. Sometimes I would call out sick, lay in bed in a mini coma for a day or 2, promising I was finished for good, or actually go to work sick and hydrate myself until I could start the vicious cycle over again. It usually wouldn't take long to be able to choke down some booze, but after that first drink, it was all downhill. A bender was imminent. Liquor, wine, and beer weren't fun, social luxuries anymore. They were a necessity. I still needed help. "I do not want to die, drunk or high." I said it out loud, this time at a meeting in front of several people like me. "I cannot drink, not today, not ever. I am powerless over alcohol. If I drink, I will do something stupid, dangerous, or illegal, probably all 3. Then I went on a bender for a week. I felt like a failure. During this bender, I woke up covered in blood, my head stuck to my pillow, with cuts in strange places all over my body. I had almost killed myself trying to open a can of spaghetti with a butcher knife. Turns out it was a pull tab. Even worse, I contemplated suicide because I thought I would never get rid of this compulsion, this addiction. Scary Gary controlled me. It was hopeless. There might only be one way out. So, this was my final rock bottom. I was contemplating suicide. ending it all. Me, the most optimistic person I know. But the bottom wasn't hell or a rough surface. It was a trampoline. On March 31st, 2016, I had the last drink at age 34. I chugged one final pint of cheap Chardonnay and almost threw up. I instantly knew it was my last sip. I was done. Call it magic, call it divine intervention, I don't care. I finally realized if I didn't fully quit, my life was going to end, and it was not going to end well. At that moment, I thought about all my excuses. My drinking's normal, everyone drinks like me, everyone falls down on a daily basis, everyone has to close one eye when driving to see straight, everyone chugs 6 to 8 drinks in the car before going into any event, everyone's first thought in the morning is, do I have enough booze to make it to work and control the shakes? I thought about all the job hopping, address hopping, and city hopping, how I felt I could get away from my weakness, my addictions. Addiction had followed me everywhere. I thought about all the different ways I had quit before. Oh, so many ways. I thought about the good things sobriety would bring. No more hangovers, no more health problems, no more playing detective every morning to piece together my awful actions, no more feeling lucky I hadn't hurt or killed anyone the night before, no more being mean, no more chemically induced depression, no more lying, cheating, stealing. I thought about the Ren. His best qualities were still in Gary. I just had to sort them out without booze. I thought about Scary Gary. He was a monster I could control, just don't feed him alcohol. All of those thoughts occurred with that final swig in an instant. On April 1st, 2016, I quit cold turkey, although we know this isn't a fair thing to say, considering how many times I had tried this before. I will admit, no one took me seriously when I proclaimed my sobriety again, but it wasn't about them, it was about me, and sobriety was my number one priority. This time it worked because I was finally ready to admit to myself that I had a sickness and there would never be a cure. So now I am free. Free from alcohol, drugs, and nicotine. From Scary Gary and the Ren. I have a new persona, Gary Awesome. I fought hard to win myself back, and Gary Awesome was a valid reward. I had feared people would miss the Ren, but that is not the case. Gary Awesome is more confident, more carefree, and more fun than the Ren ever could be. I eventually wrote a book explaining 99 reasons I choose to be sober, but I will tell you the number one reason. I have finally given my younger self everything he ever dreamed of. I am more driven, I am more talented, I am more loving, I am more hopeful, I am happier. I have very clearly done more in 7 years than I did partying for 20. I have published numerous books in a variety of genres, started a photography company, made over 50 short films, got a job where I travel and have more downtime for hobbies, married the best woman in the world, bought a house, raised a daughter, and more. Also, I have stopped feeling tired and sick all the time, never have hangovers, have more energy, and remember everything I do and say. Gary Awesome is here to stay. I do not regret a single moment of sobriety. That's my story, from Gary to Awesome.